And welcome to Love Always Self. I'm Shyra.
Hi, y'all. I'm Karista, and thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Love Always Self. We've got a lot going on.
Mhm.
And so we have decided that we needed to record in our separate spaces for the moment, just for today, hopefully, and we'll get back to the regular recording where we are together
In the studio.
in the studio. But yeah, that kind of just speaks to what we're going to talk about today is
Right.
learning how to give yourself grace and take a break to just remove some of the stuff that fills your plate. Because sometimes it's like a buffet, like life is a buffet, and you're just putting, like difficult issues and challenges and commitments and chores and everything on your plate, and everything's a priority. If everything's a priority, nothing's a priority.
Yeah, it's really hard to imagine that your life can be like organized. Let me rephrase that. It's can be very difficult to feel like you need to accomplish everything every day. And it's just not always possible. And sometimes you have to learn how to forgive yourself.
And something that we've learned growing up in the States is that you must be productive. To be counted
Mm,
as successful, you have to always be doing and accomplishing and, checking stuff off the list. And that's just not feasible to be so outward outwardly expending energy all the time. Sometimes we got to make space for ourselves and taking care of our own energy needs. And so today we're going to make this episode a little shorter than normal,
yep.
and we are also going to just let you know we're going to take a break from the card reading this week just to give ourselves a little break. So we
Yes.
would appreciate that while we are practicing giving ourselves grace, you can also give us a little grace too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, just a little background on what's going on this week. First of all, if you've watched any of the last few episodes,
Two or three.
2 or 3, you'll catch up with the fact that we've been going through quite a bit, in our personal lives and juggling that and our day jobs and also making sure that we stay as focused and active with our podcast as humanly possible because we are so excited about the audience that we're growing and that it's listening to us. Um, but with that being said, we both have full-time day jobs. We both have a really active personal life at the moment. I'm gonna call it active. I feel like that's a
Yeah,
nice way to put it,
that
right?
is a nice way,
Um,
yeah.
and and so something that I decided to do, and when I say I decided, it was more of I went out and sought advice from some coworkers and just, people that I care about or that are friends. And I was like, how can I figure out how to stop being a workaholic? Now, I didn't ask it in that way. I've come to that determination on my own, but that's basically what was going on. I was prioritizing my day job above pretty much everything else. And that came to head. I got kind of called out by one of my friends. That was nice. You know who you are and we love you. And and I was like, "You know what? You're right. You're right." And so I received advice from a coworker, a couple of them actually, and the advice was to start block scheduling, like blocking off time on my schedule to stop working. And you're right, like Carrie and I talked about this earlier, and Carrie made the great comment to me that it only works if you actively participate in it.
Yes. So you can set your calendar up with all the different colors and different blocks and everything, but unless
Yeah,
you honor those boundaries that you are setting,
right.
it's not gonna work.
No, it's not. And so I actually decided to test this out starting this week. And there was one day where I felt like it got, the boundaries got pushed, right? And I allowed it. And but not as much as I would have before. And then the rest of the days of this week, I had a direct stopping point. and I would just close the laptop and walk away. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, everything's gonna just break," right? Like, I was, like, in panic mode the first couple of days that I did this because I wasn't really sure, like, what was gonna happen, and then now we're here at the end of the week, and I have realized that nothing burned down
The
or
laptop didn't explode.
right, laptop didn't explode. I'm still here, and I still got everything done, and what was more interesting to me about, doing that this week was that I also realized that because I was scheduling focus time, where if I had a task, I actually started scheduling on my calendar specific tasks. Like during this hour, I'm doing nothing but emails. During this hour, I'm checking chats. During this hour, I'm going to open it up for anyone to schedule a conference call with me. And then from here to here, I'm taking lunch, right? And then I'm going to do 15 minutes for a break for a breathing exercise and taking those deep breaths and slowing down my internal flame that I'm going to call my very angry, anxiety system this week. And and then after that, from this time all the way to this time, completely blocked off, which gave me 2 hours of my workday to just focus on getting my work done with no other distractions and actually get off on time.
Isn't it amazing, like, how much more productive you've been in less
Yeah.
time?
Yes. Which also makes me really wonder if, like, the four-day work week would be much better.
I am down to try it.
I'm just saying, like, give me my three-day weekends. I'd love that.
I mean, I was actually just talking to somebody earlier today about this very thing, about how that could create an opportunity for more balance. You know, our weekends are filled to the max with preparing for the next week.
Yeah,
And it's hard to squeeze in because we do a lot of podcast stuff over the weekend. So it's hard to squeeze in any kind of social time,
I know.
any time to check in with family and, just being in our own, essence and our nature and just going out and just having fun. It can be hard to create that time. And so, we're actually really excited because we are scheduled to go on a retreat next week, which we scheduled back in January. And I tell you what, like the divine timing of everything that has been going
Everything.
on, we have worked really hard for this. I did not realize when we were booking it how needed it was going to be.
Absolutely. And it could not come at a better time, honestly. It's a horrible time for my day job stuff, but I'm like, "You know what? You guys are just you're gonna be okay. Everyone there is gonna be okay. When I get back, I'll deal with it then," right?
Mhm.
That's all I can do, and I'm gonna let go, which was like a huge theme. This was like I mean, it was actually an obscene amount of synchronicity. I have literally just when you think that your guides, when you ask them to be very clear and loud about how they want to communicate with you, this past week was a major proof that they do that. And I have never seen the word let go repeated that many times in my life. Everywhere I went, somebody brought it up in conversation. I heard it during a conference call. I've seen it on almost every channel I've watched on a television or YouTube or social media. I was like, I saw it in an email in my personal inbox. I was like, what's going on right now? And then I was like, okay, so what exactly it is that you want me to let go, guides, because I'm getting your message. It's very clear that that's what you're telling me. And you just said it right then and there. Let go of the work, let go of the stress, like relax into the moment that you're about to experience or that you are experiencing.
Let go of the need to meet other people's expectations so
Mhm.
that we can receive acceptance and validation.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. Honestly, it's amazing. And I can't wait for you guys to see some of the things that we plan to record and
Yes.
you while we're on the road.
Yeah, it's gonna be, like I said, it's overdue, it's over needed, like, looking forward to the connections that we're going to be making and the connections with ourselves, growing that deeper relationship with our intuition and
Yeah.
learning to trust that too. It's going to be a great weekend. We're going to go paddleboarding,
Ooh. Yeah,
yoga
so
paddleboarding. I don't know. We're going to try.
okay, please nobody catch that on camera. Nobody needs to see me do that. N I mean, look, I like to practice the lack of self-judgment, but that's a different story.
So, what are some other ways that we can incorporate like little breaks throughout our week? Because it's not always that we can schedule a weekend long retreat.
Right.
So, I was just trying to think of some other small ways that we can provide those times for us to kind of reconnect and relax, maybe even retreat a little bit
Well,
at
I
home.
mean, yeah, and you and you set the tone, honestly, because one of the things that you brought up was making time for yourself, right? Um, so often we are pulled into a lot of events. And for those of us that are so fortunate and so grateful to have the abundant amount of friends and
Yeah.
family and loved ones to spend this amount of time with, sometimes you have to say no.
And
Sometimes
that's
you
hard because you
it's
don't wanna
really
disappoint
hard.
people.
And I find myself too often or not actually telling people like, "It's not you," you know? It
Sometimes
I
it is.
some I mean, maybe. But, for the most part, look, it's not you. I'm not, and that's a big part about communicating to somebody, right? But you have to stand your own ground. You have to be able to say no to certain things. There's plenty of times where my husband asks me if I want to go do all these dot 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 dot, and I'm just like, "No, that
Mhm.
sounds great. Take pictures. Send me a pic." You know?
And it's important to kinda evaluate, like, where you're at before you're going to these things, because if you're in a state or a mood, or if you're in discomfort, whether that's physically, emotionally, whatever it is, if you commit to going to something knowing that you are not in, like, a right frame of mind, or, ready to go do that thing, then you can make it pretty uncomfortable for other people, and so sometimes it's important to take into consideration, well, I know, for example, if I were to go out to dinner and I'm having stomach issues, I'm not gonna be a fun person at dinner.
Right.
And
Nobody wants
so
to sit there at a restaurant having bubble guts, like,
exactly. Exactly, exactly. So just taking into that, consideration and being okay with doing it another time when you feel up to it.
Yeah. And that's another thing, like, if you this is a big one. If you schedule an event with somebody and you gotta be okay with saying, "Hey, I know I scheduled this." Give somebody, enough time to
Yeah, be respectful of
be
time.
respectful. My
Like,
gosh.
don't text
Brain.
them 5 minutes before and be like, "Hey, I
Right.
changed my mind." Like, give some
Right.
notice,
Give
sure.
some notice. That's the word. Thank you. Give them some notice. I was trying to come up with a word, and just did not wanna come out of my mouth.
It's okay, I got you.
See?
You know how we work.
Right? Blooper moments. So so give somebody, a little bit of time, to make sure that you're not canceling them on the last minute, like Carrie said. But at the same time, if something changes within you, because you could have been really excited to book something like ahead of time, like weeks before or whatever, and then when the day comes, something happens and you're just not there.
Mhm,
And it is actually a lot less fair to the person that you're meeting up with, to present the person that doesn't wanna be there to them, right?
absolutely, absolutely. You may
So,
not get a second hangout after that.
you might not get a call back, you know what I'm saying? So, but I will say that one of the other things that has come up, for me at least, is feeling guilt towards not making the time for some of my friends and family members. I have felt a lot of guilt for that over the last, well, it's been a while now, but I've felt a lot of guilt for that. And that was something that I had to let go of because I am doing my absolute best, and I know that. And doing my best and being present when I do talk to them over the phone, if I can't be there in person, that's what I can do. That's what I can give at that moment in time, and it's okay. And I do believe that the people that love and care for you can understand that, is if especially if you communicate it. Now, if you just go in a silent mode and you ghost them all the time, that
That's
might be
rude.
a little different thing, right? That's called rude. But right. So, but if you're communicating with them and just letting them know, "Hey, I love you. I'm sorry we haven't seen each other in a while. Give me a call, let me make time to have a conversation," and stuff like that. Not a big deal. I don't think it's a big deal. I know, after the break from the COVID, right? Like, a lot of people a lot of people were like, "Oh my gosh, I just wanna touch you and see you in person and da da da." And one of the things about working with energy and opening your abilities is that you start to, until you practice, like, learning how to protect and close yourself off from receiving too much of somebody else's energy, you will become very open. You'll be very open to them, and you'll start to feel it, and it'll feel something like anxiety. You'll get a wave of, like, sadness that doesn't belong to you.
And you
You'll
won't
feel
necessarily know where it's coming from.
and you don't know where it's coming from, right? And so when you go from a long period of solitude to not, especially when you're practicing opening your abilities, that's you're gonna feel that, and it's gonna be confusing. So, something to consider.
Mhm. No, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was just thinking, or maybe this is just like a little piece of information, but it dawned on me that letting go in some ways is actually a practice of giving yourself grace. Mhm.
Isn't that magic?
Mhm.
You know? I'm not gonna lie, like, I don't think I could write up my own personal dictionary right about now on all the different reasons or terminologies between letting go. And whether it's letting go of control, letting go of guilt, letting go of a sadness that you held on to for a little too long that really didn't serve you anymore.
Letting go of a
Um,
relationship that no longer serves you.
Letting go of a relationship that no longer serves you, or letting go of a thought that you told yourself that isn't true.
Negative affirmations.
Thank you. Letting go of negative affirmations. Wow. Did not see that coming. Um, so yeah, we're coining that one. Just so we're clear.
Oh, okay. So I think again, we're going to cut it short. Hopefully, you got a little bit of few tidbits in here and really, take into consideration how long have you been going strong and do you need a little break? How can you give yourself a little break, whether it's taking 5 minutes to disconnect, to close your eyes, to do a little meditation, whether it's to go take a walk or take a bath or go on a retreat or get a massage, I don't know, breath work class. There are so many different options, but give yourself some grace, give yourself some peace, and provide that comfort that you need for yourself. Give yourself that little energy boost by taking care of you.
Yes, take care of you. And for all of our beautiful listeners and all of you watching us here on YouTube, the week that this video comes out, so this week, you'll be getting extra content from us, with us in person, on the road, that more vlog style that we were really talking about in manifesting.
You were making
reality
promises.
reality shifting. I am making promises, because if I make these promises, and we'll actually do
All
it.
right, all right, all right. I see it. I see it. Me.
Meh. But we really do love and appreciate you guys, and
Oh my gosh, yes.
and thanks so much for watching or listening or both. And don't forget that we're on social media at Love Always Self, and of course, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, It helps us grow. It really does. We have a website. It is lovealwaysself.com.
You didn't say www.
I did not. I actually caught myself and I stopped myself from doing it. I was really close to that. Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, I'm Shyra. This is Karista.
Thank you so much for being with us today. We love you guys so much. And again, welcome all the new listeners. We're so excited to have you. Please subscribe so that we can reach more people and continue to spread our messages of love. And on that note, don't forget to love first
Love last.
and love always.
So much easier when it's this close. Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
y'all. Hey, listener, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this moment. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and we look forward to our next connection.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow to stay notified of new content from Love Always Self. If you have any questions or topics you'd like for us to discuss, please hit us up on any of our social media platforms linked in the show notes below.
I'm Karista.
And I'm Shyra.
And until next time, remember to love first
Love last.
and love always. Love Always Self podcast is meant for entertainment purposes only. We do not make any warranties about the completeness, reliability, and accuracy of the information presented in this podcast. Any action you choose to take upon the information in this podcast is strictly done so at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses and damages in connection with the use of our podcast. Any and all medical concerns should be addressed with a licensed healthcare provider, as well as any questions that may be derived from the information discussed in this podcast.